the story of Ibrahim alayhi salam isn't just about Ibrahim alayhi salam and those people, it's actually about us. Today, we don't have to have statues. Today we can have people. Today we can have concepts. Today we can have cultural forces. Today we can have an algorithm. Now in her mind, she's connected success in life to this influencer, and she's bound them together. And even though she's not sitting in a temple doing worship, in her mind, it's constantly running. I don't look like her yet. I don't have the same makeup yet. I don't have as many followers yet. I don't have this yet. It's just running in her mind. She's doing i'tikaf in her head. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. La ilaha illallah. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Walillahi alhamd. In this beautiful day of Eid, it only makes sense to remind ourselves of a glimpse of the legacy of Ibrahim alayhi salam. So I'm dedicating today's khutbah to one question that Ibrahim alayhi salam asked. You're all familiar with the story. You've heard it since childhood. But I think oftentimes when you look at the overall picture, you lose sight of the small details. And some of the most beautiful and powerful wisdom of the Quran is captured in the small details. And so today we're just going to focus on one small detail. When Ibrahim alayhi salam was young and he was looking at people in his society that he was raised with, that all of them had the same religion, all of them had the same culture, they had the same language. When you are raised in a society and you see people doing the same thing, everybody's doing the same thing around you, that becomes normal for you. That's the common sense thing for you to do. If everybody's driving this way on the road, the only person driving that way is crazy. This is normal. How do you know that's normal? Nobody taught you that's normal. You just saw that everybody else is driving that way, so that must be normal. We define normal by what we see around us. You define what is good food or good cooking by the food you were raised with. And you see everybody enjoying that food, and eventually your taste actually surrenders to the culture where you came from. And you see, if somebody asks a Iraqi, what's the best food in the world? They say Iraqi food. If somebody asks a Bangladeshi, what's the best food in the world? It's Bangladeshi food. Why? Because that was their normal, and that's where they defined good and bad and beautiful and ugly. Every definition came from their surroundings. Ibrahim alayhi salam is a child. And as a child, your brain hasn't fully developed yet. So you are actually your neural pathways are being reinforced, and little by little you're learning what is normal and what is not normal. But at the same time as you're being programmed, this is a kind of programming, isn't it? Like they say, practice makes perfect, right? So every day a child is practicing and seeing the same thing, and it's being reinforced and reinforced and reinforced. So you can imagine that Ibrahim alayhi salam, even as a baby, was taken by his father many times to the temple. He was taken, and he saw all the people doing the worship. This is before he became a prophet. He's being taken there all the time, and he's seeing this. This is what he knows. He knows no other religion. He knows no other way of thinking. And he knows the people that have raised him, the people that know more than him, the people that protect him, the people that give him food. All of them do this. All of them, the young people do it and the old people do it. So there's an expectation also. And when you have that, in a sense, human beings become a lot more like sheep. Because sheep, when all the other sheep are going in this direction, then the sheep they don't question, they just go in that direction. Because you don't have to think about that anymore. Somebody else already did the thinking for you. Allah made Ibrahim alayhi salam a model for what a human being is supposed to be, even when they are in a society, when everyone is doing the same thing. A human being has the ability to think for themselves. They have the ability to ask questions and even ask, I know everybody's saying that's normal, but is that right? Does it make sense? Is it okay for me to ask that question? So he asks a very fundamental question. And the way Allah captures that question, when he was young, and he wanted to ask a question by way of criticizing, and which is also another important part here. He did not say you're wrong to the people first. He actually asked them a question first. And this is interesting because he wants to hear from them, look, you're practicing this, you're doing this, all of you. I hope you can explain why you're doing it. I hope you can give me an explanation so we can have a conversation about your reasons and maybe why those reasons make sense to me or they don't make sense to me. So he's not interested in proving them wrong. He's actually interested in having an exchange, a conversation. So he asked this question, ما هذه التماثيل التي أنتم لها عاكفون? The translation often says, what are these statues that you are sitting in front of? That's how the translation goes of this ayah. What are these statues that you are sitting in front of? And we're going to focus on two words here, the statues and the sitting in front of. We're going to, in the Arabic. The Arabic word for the statues here is at-tamathil. And tamathil comes from mithl or mathal in the Arabic language. It's different from al-asnam. Al-asnam literally means statues. Al-asnam means carvings and statues, sanam. But mathal, مثل له الشيء is صور له كأنه ينظر إليه when you make something so realistic that you thought it's actually the real thing. That's actually called a tamthil. A tamthil is so realistic that you actually, for a second, got confused and thought it was someone else. Like, you know, the Madame Tussauds statues, the wax statues, they make them life-size and exact figures. And if you saw people take pictures next to, like, the president or take a picture next to a dead celebrity, and they're like, how did you do that? Because it's a statue, but it's a very realistic looking statue. He used this word because I think there's a lot of wisdom in asking that word. He is telling them, I know that you are not actually worshiping the statue. You think the statue represents something. And it's so close that it makes you feel like it's the real thing. So the statue is a good word for tamthil is representation. What are these representatives? What are these representatives that you're sitting in front of? That's what he's saying. The second word is عكف. التي أنتم لها عاكفون. الاعتكاف كما نعرف, right? I'tikaf you might be familiar with when someone stays in the masjid and worships Allah and doesn't leave. That's called i'tikaf. He used the word akaf actually comes from, you know, akaf as-silku as-samut, when the string holds all the beads together and the beads don't fall apart from the necklace. That's actually called ta'kif. That's the word akf. And the idea behind that is you have this concept in your head, this tamthil, this representation in your head, and you're keeping it together in your head. Now, the reason I'm sharing this with you is the story of Ibrahim alayhi salam isn't just about Ibrahim alayhi salam and those people. It's actually about us. Because a representation could be a statue thousands of years ago, something in my head that it looks like it's a stone in reality, but in my head it's some kind of God. It controls the rain. It controls the weather. It controls if I have a child or not. That's in my head. And I'm keeping this idea together in my head, even though the stone and me having children have nothing to do with each other. But I put these things, I strung them together and I bind them together in my head. I made a connection between them. And when he says, can you explain this connection to me? How did you connect the statue with this idea that you have? What's the explanation behind it? Of course, their answer was, we saw our fathers doing it and their fathers doing it and their fathers. That was their answer. Which is not an explanation. That's just what you saw. So you're saying I'm copying. I'm copying. That's your explanation. But you don't, so ask them. But they died. And if you ask them, they'd say, I saw my dad doing it. And if you ask the one before, he said, my dad doing it. And he's the one before my dad doing it. Eventually you get to the first guy, he says, I don't know. I don't know. They have no idea. Today, we don't have to have statues. Today we can have people. Today we can have concepts. Today we can have cultural forces. Today we can have an algorithm. And for example, a young person has very low confidence. They have very low self-esteem. And then they go on social media. They go on TikTok or they go on Instagram. They go somewhere and they see a lot of influencers. And this young woman sees an influencer who looks very beautiful and she shows off her body. And she talks a certain way, and she goes on these vacations, and she's taking selfies, and she's posting them, and she's being more and more and more provocative, and she's got millions of followers. And this young girl who has low self-esteem says, this girl, I know I'm not this girl, but this girl represents success. This becomes my tamthil. This girl, if I have this, then I have achieved what I want in life. So I'm going to do everything I can to become as close to this as possible. Now in her mind, she's connected success in life to this influencer, and she's bound them together. And even though she's not sitting in a temple doing worship, in her mind, it's constantly running. I don't look like her yet. I don't have the same makeup yet. I don't have as many followers yet. I don't have this yet. It's just running in her mind. She's doing i'tikaf in her head. This is her tamthil. Somebody else develops a tamthil, and this happens with young people and old people. You have, somebody in a village who had their son get married. And when they got their son married, they put a big khayma together, they put a big party, and a lot of people came, and they loved the food and all of that. And they're taking notes. They're like, this person has a lot of respect. How did they get a lot of respect? They had a huge wedding for their son. So when my son's wedding comes, I have to have a bigger wedding than this one. Because in their mind, that wedding and respect, they bound those two ideas together. I can't have the same respect until I spend this kind of money and go out of my way and do all of this. Then I will have respect. Then and only then. If I don't have that, then how can I show my face in the world? So what happens? In every culture, in youth culture, in village culture, in city culture, in Pakistani culture, in Iraqi culture, in every culture, there are tamathil. There are idols. They don't look like statues. They may be expectations that came from your mother. They may be conversations you're having in the family. Everybody else has a big house. We don't have a house. We live in an apartment. They live in a house. But we don't have the money. Yeah, but take a loan. But then we're going to be in debt, and then we're going to have to pay a lot of riba, and we're going to go, and this is financially doesn't make sense, and we might be in debt for 30, 40. Yeah, but so you want to invite people for Eid to our little apartment? We can't even show this place to anyone. So embarrassing. So in their mind, being able to show your face in society is the most important thing, even if you put yourself in financial difficulty. Even then, it becomes a tamthil. For parents, there are tamathil. For children, there are tamathil. For young women, there are tamathil. For young men, there are tamathil. For professionals, there are tamathil. I have to ask myself, and you have to ask yourself, today on this day when we try to revive the story of Ibrahim alayhi salam, what representations do you have in your head? And where did they come from? Did you actually think about them and make these connections, or did you just copy someone else? Because his villagers were copying someone else, right? Everybody else thinks like this. Why are you asking this question? And so Ibrahim alayhi salam's legacy starts with asking a very deep question. ما هذه التماثيل التي أنتم لها عاكفون? Last warning I give myself and I give to all of you is the word عاكفون again. I told you akaf has to do with beads that are held together in a necklace. عكف السلك الصمود. That's what it comes from. What that means then is these ideas, these connections in our head, they are very closely bound together. There's luzum in them. You don't just listen to a 10-minute, 12-minute khutbah and these ideas break apart. It doesn't happen. It takes a lot of work to break them apart. Because it took a lot of work to put a necklace together. It took a lot of little by little by little to build these ideas, these false ideas in our head. So it takes a lot of deprogramming. It takes a lot of deep thinking to undo this kind of conditioning, to undo this kind of programming. And so the legacy of Ibrahim alayhi salam, a big part of that is for us to be able to undo the statues that are inside our head. Not just the statues that are sitting in a temple somewhere. And we have to ask ourselves over and over again, I'm committing myself so much to this one idea, to this one goal, to this one expectation. So powerful. This idea has become so powerful. This expectation has become so powerful that it's become a tamthil, and I sit in front of it and I think about it all the time. And that's what I'm consumed with, and all of my choices are dictated by that one thing. May Allah Azza wa Jal make us people that free ourselves from these chains and are able to break that necklace and are able to actually recognize all of the tamathil in our lives and break them. Break them, like Ibrahim alayhi salam tried to break them for them. That's what he did for them. And that's the legacy that he's left for us. On this beautiful day of Eid, I pray that our families are united, that our children are protected, that our families are able to overcome all of their conflicts, that everything that we do, every decision that we make is a decision that is made under the shade of Allah's obedience, and that we are able to truly be the millat abikum Ibrahim, the religion of your father Ibrahim alayhi salam. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, La ilaha illallah, Wallahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Walillahi alhamd. Eid Mubarak to all of you.